What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brandon Smith. So today's case takes place exactly 7 years ago today. There are lots of strange clues and mysterious happenings, but I think when you reduce the story to its purest form, the case just isn't that complicated. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get into it. The day is Saturday, August 29th, 2015. The song Cheerleader by Jamaican singer Omi is #1 on the Billboard charts. The film Straight Outta Compton, starring O'Shea Jackson Jr., is #1 at the box office. And tomorrow, Chicago Cubs pitcher Jake Arrieta pitches his first career no-hitter, blanking the Los Angeles Dodgers 2-0 at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California. 130 miles down the coast in El Cajon, California, 20-year-old Elijah Diaz is engaged in a heated argument with his mother, Leilani Thompson. With tensions at a fever pitch and no immediate resolution in sight, Leilani leaves her son's home for cooler heads to prevail. Despite the haughty encounter, the ever-vigilant mom still wishes her son a good night via text when she arrives home. Elijah responds back, "I love you." After sending this message, the young man goes silent forever. This day in mystery. Saturday, August 29th in El Cajon, California is filled with crystal clear sunshine. They say that it never rains in Southern California, and in the city just 15 miles east of San Diego, today the weather is a testament to this idiom. Elijah Diaz has lived in the Golden State his entire life. Known to friends and family alike as Bear, the firstborn child of Leilani Thompson and Stephen Diaz, is a proud member of the Barona group of Capitan Grande Band of Mission Indians. Diaz spends his childhood on the Barona Reservation, enjoying the nature and wildlife characteristic of the close-knit community. However, when he turns 6, his comportment takes a dramatic turn. Bear becomes lethargic, and the boy, once so fascinated with the outdoors, begins to spend the majority of his leisure time inside. Diaz is diagnosed with juvenile type 1 diabetes. The affliction has a dramatic effect on the kid. He loses weight at a rapid pace. His frequent hospital stays force him to miss a great deal of school, so much so that after a 5-month medical intake, Bear is forced to drop out at just 17 years old. Diaz's physical plight also begins to wreak havoc on his mental well-being. He becomes depressed, devastated that he is so different from his peers. When Bear turns 19, he seeks independence. Diaz decides that it is time to leave the small reservation community of just 450 people. He moves to the nearby and much larger city of El Cajon, a municipality with just north of 100,000 residents. The Barona Reservation land hosts a resort and casino called, naturally, Barona Resort and Casino. Inhabitants of the reservation are entitled to a monthly dividend of the casino's profits. Those under the age of majority have their shares allocated to a trust fund. So, at the tender age of just 19 years old, young Bear Diaz has a deluge of savings, so much so that he is able to pay for his new home in El Cajon in cash. Bear's spending does not stop there. Diaz buys clothes, televisions, and a new car. His improvident disperse is not limited to personal expenditure. Diaz also lavishes gifts on his family and picks up the tab for his friends on many nights out at his favorite hangout spot, Sherazade Hookah Lounge. He also allows friends from the establishment to stay with him at his newly purchased home on Joey Avenue for the night, week, month, or even year. Bear is a very generous individual, but soon after the move, his health begins deteriorating. Severe cataracts present in both eyes have rendered him almost completely blind. Diaz stands at 5 feet 10 inches tall, but weighs just 110 pounds. His condition has left him very weak, and he requires the use of crutches or a wheelchair to get around. Neuropathy wounds on his legs and feet are worsening, and potential amputation of the limbs is fast becoming a real possibility. In the summer of 2015, Bear is no longer able to care for himself on his own. Fortunately, his mother Leilani takes up the mantle of caregiver without complaint. The woman spends upwards of 8 hours a day at her son's property, tending to the now 20-year-old's needs. August 29, 2015 is a somber day for Leilani. A family member near and dear to the reservation has passed away, and a funeral is being held on site. Bear wants to attend and pay his condolences, but his ever-worsening condition will just not allow it, and he is forced to stay home. After the funeral, Diaz tells Thompson that he is feeling a little better and wants to visit with his grieving band in their time of need. So at 4:10 p.m., Leilani and Bear head to the Barona Reservation to attend the reception together. When they arrive, the mood is melancholy, but the noise level is still high. Younger members of the procession cannot stifle their youthful enthusiasm, and the commotion is wearing on Diaz. He tries his best to be deferential amongst the mourners, but eventually the noisy tableau becomes too much, and at 8:15 p.m., Bear asks Leilani to take him home. At 9 p.m., the two arrive at Diaz's house. Bear is still reeling from the day's events, and he is raw with emotion. Diaz shouts at Thompson. He derides the calamity of the ceremony and vents his frustration regarding his poor health. Leilani tells Bear that he still has so much to be thankful for and appeals to her son's gratitude. Diaz tells his mother that she just can't understand what it's like to be him. Leilani realizes that Bear is mentally sore and inconsolable at present. As such, at 10:15 p.m., she tells the young man that she thinks it best to take her leave, lest the situation get worse. At 11:15 p.m., back at home now on the Barona Reservation, Thompson sends Diaz a text message stating that she arrived home safely. 4 minutes later, at 11:19 p.m., Bear Diaz responds back with a text message of his own. "Okay, I'm glad. I love you." Eager to quell the drama between she and her son, and responsible for much of his well-being, Leilani sends a text message the following morning asking Bear how he is feeling. There is no response. Thompson sends another text message later in the morning, this time asking Diaz what he wants for lunch. Again, there is no response. Figuring that her son may still be upset, she decides to give him a little breathing space. However, by 3:45 p.m., Leilani can no longer be pacified. Bear needs her help. His medical condition requires it. Thompson journeys to Diaz's home. At the house, Leilani finds Bear's car in the driveway. Inside the property, Thompson finds Diaz's bedroom door locked. She figures her son may have spent the night gaming into the wee hours of the morning and may now be merely sleeping away the remains of the day. Leilani makes use of her key and enters the domain. Inside, the scene is bewildering. The sheets that usually reside on Bear's bed have been stripped. The resting place's pillows and comforters have been strewn aside wildly. The 53-inch television that usually adorns the wall has been taken off of its moorings and is absent the domicile. Diaz's crutches, cell phone, backpack, and insulin are also missing. His eyeglasses and phone charger, however, are present on the nightstand. The safe in Bear's bedroom is ajar, and when Leilani inspects the container's insides, she finds the $7,000 usually housed within gone. The setting is ominous, and Thompson is more concerned now for Diaz's well-being than she was prior to entering the house. She worries that her son may have taken his life, and sadly, she has unique reason to be troubled about this specific denouement. Just 20 months prior, on January 13th, 2014, Bear's brother and Leilani's stepson, Jacob, had ended his own life. A frantic Thompson searches the house madly, looking for any sign of Diaz. She does not find the man, but does find one of his two roommates. Leilani asks the house guests if he knows where Bear is. The man says that he does not. He tells Thompson that he arrived home that morning at 2:30 a.m. to find the house as it is now. He says Diaz's door was locked and there was no sign of the property owner anywhere. He retired to his room and reports that nothing of note was seen or heard in the hours since. Clear that her son is nowhere in the house, Leilani departs the property. Thompson spends the rest of the night mired in worry. When the sun rises on Monday, August 31st, Leilani hatches a plan. Knowing that her son, Bear, has a full slate of medical checkups scheduled for that day, Thompson stakes out each appointment looking for any appearance of the missing young man. At each commitment, Diaz is a no-show. Her sense of dread grows. Leilani calls the police to report Bear as missing. Officials are quick to tell the woman that a 20-year-old adult has every right to be out of contact, and as such, they decline to file a report. The Barona group of Capitan Grande Band of Mission Indians has a massive powwow planned for the day of Saturday, September 5th. Every member of the reservation, both past and present, is invited. This list of invitees includes Bear Diaz. The festival is near and dear to Bear's heart. Diaz loves his community and honoring his heritage. So, when the fire is extinguished at the grand ceremony and he does not make an appearance, Leilani is now rock solid in her belief that something abominable has happened to Bear. On the morning of Sunday, September 6th, Leilani calls the El Cajon Police Department again. This time, when Thompson speaks to authorities, she focuses on her son's medical condition. Bear is an adult, but he is still sick, and she tells police that any missing individual in need of medical attention should be the focus of an investigation. Surprisingly, this time law enforcement agents do heed the plea. Within the hour, they arrive at Diaz's home to conduct a full-scale search of the property. Luminol detects no blood within the home. Fingerprint information is of little forensic value, as Bear's house played host to upwards of 5 different individuals on any given night. Investigators determine that there is no sign of forced entry and no sign of a struggle. Police reach out to Bear's friends, but this too proves difficult, as Diaz's associations were very tenuous and he was known to mingle with many different people who frequented Shahrazad Hookah Lounge to varying degrees. However, all those who are contacted report having no idea where the missing man is now. His roommates say the same. Bear's cell phone tells a very interesting story. Device records indicate that Diaz's text message to his mother at 11:19 p.m. on August 29th is the last outgoing correspondence from the cell phone. However, at 1:29 a.m. on August 30th, a data dump on the device takes place. The cell tower which facilitated this electronic export is located just outside the Barona Casino, 13 miles north of his home. 29 minutes later, at 1:58 a.m., another tower in a remote area of Santa Isabel, 25 miles north of the casino, picks up the digital signal. Minutes afterwards, Bear's phone is powered off for good. Diaz's family says that the young man was known to frequent the casino, but can think of no logical reason for him to visit the scattered woodlands of Santa Isabella, especially at 2 in the morning. Bear's monthly dividend check from the casino for the month of September is never collected, nor is October. In November 2015, Thompson is named conservator of Diaz's estate. Grieving mother transforms her son's home into search party headquarters. Leilani hangs a banner on the fence outside of the property, proclaiming that Bear is still missing. A billboard is erected on California State Route 67, touting the same edict. Thompson hires a private investigator. Law enforcement tracks down leads and looks into sightings, but despite the yeoman's effort, Bear Diaz remains missing. At the time of his disappearance, Elijah was struggling with his physical health. His mental health was also waning. Naturally, police had to wonder if Bear had made the decision to take his own life. Certain articles that went missing alongside Diaz also lended credence to this idea. A 2-week supply of insulin was gone, his cell phone and crutches also missing. There were not just physical suggestions to this notion, but mental implications as well. The night that Bear disappeared, he had a verbal altercation with his mother. A year prior, Diaz's brother Jacob had committed suicide. Both events would certainly take a toll on any individual, but pair these concerns with the deteriorating physical state and termination of life is an outcome that had to be analyzed. Could Bear have succumbed to mental affliction and committed suicide? Could Diaz have desired another escape and left to pursue a new life elsewhere? While police were considering this aftermath, the family of Bear Diaz never subscribed to this belief. Bear's family was adamant that he would never take his own life or abandon his loved ones. Diaz's mother, Leilani, believes that the scene she came upon on the afternoon of August 30th was more indicative of foul play than running away or self-harm. While her son's cell phone, medicine, and crutches were missing, Thompson points to the still remaining eyeglasses as the most glaring evidence of a crime. Bear was legally blind. If he was leaving his home of his own volition, certainly he would have taken his glasses with him. Further belaboring the point was the fact that Diaz's 53-inch television and $7,000 cash was also gone. Additionally, his car was still in the driveway. Bear was incapable of driving and could barely walk. Leilani says that any attempt to leave the house on his own would have been futile. The combination of all these details led Thompson to one sad conclusion. Her son had been abducted and killed. She believes that Diaz's habit of divulging that he kept large sums of money in his home, his kindness in inviting virtually anyone to stay at his house, and his inability to defend himself ultimately resulted in his demise. On the evening of August 30th, 2015, 21 hours after Bear Diaz was last seen, a man named Skylar Peterson Tosick texted his mother Olivia an ominous message. "There are 2 women here now. They are rich. They are taking me with passports and they are connected. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance and they want to go." After this, he was never heard from again. Skylar, like Bear, was 20 years old. Both were born and raised in California. They were the same approximate height and same approximate weight. The 2 even looked similar in appearance. Peterson was last seen in Escondido, a city 25 miles west of the location where Diaz's cell phone last pinged in Santa Isabel. The similarities in the 2 stories were unnerving, and when Leilani Thompson heard Skylar's story, she knew that she had to meet with Olivia Tosick. Brought together by loss, the 2 women bonded over their missing children. Olivia told Leilani that in the days before Skylar had gone missing, he told her that he had been hanging out with 2 men named Thaddeus and Eli. Tosick knew all of her son's friends, so the name drop of these 2 new individuals, whom she definitely did not know, was worrisome. On the night he disappeared, Tosick told his mother that he was again meeting with Thaddeus and Eli. Leilani wondered if the mysterious Eli was in fact a reference to her son Bear, whose real name was Elijah. Was it possible that Bear and Skylar went missing together willfully? Or was each man individually lured to their demise by the same person's unknown? Each man's mothers definitely thought it was a real possibility. However, while detectives recognize the remarkable coincidences, they still can find no connection between the 2 missing Californians and believe that the cases are not related in any way. All right, so what do I think happened? The story of Elijah Bear Diaz is tragic and sad. A young man beset by so many ailments in his young life goes missing and leaves behind a deeply saddened family and community. Let's talk theories, and let's start with the runaway suicide notion. I lumped these two theories together because for analysis' sake, the concepts are ultimately the same. Abandoning your life, whether to end it or start anew, has the same fundamental objective: escape. I also think that each line of thinking is similarly unlikely. However, when I was doing my research on this case, I was absolutely amazed at the volume of people who buy into this theory. They say things like, well, Bear was depressed, surely he took his own life. Or, the Mexican border is just 25 miles away, surely that's where he went. But I believe that these same people are really discounting the reality of Diaz's physical condition. He was a type 1 diabetic. Neuropathy wounds plagued his lower body. Bear could barely walk, and he was legally blind. I hate discussing these actualities with any modicum of unconcern. Please understand that it is not my intent. But ask yourself realistically, how far in distance would Diaz be able to get before taking his own life? Far enough that 7 years later, we still wouldn't have found his remains? I don't think so. On a similar logic path, how successful would Bear have been in engineering a new life? Successful enough that 7 years later, he is still off the radar? Again, I just don't think so. But for me, the most deafening evidence that Diaz did not leave on his own accord is the absence of his television. Now, I weigh darn near 210 pounds. I am physically fit with no negative health conditions of any kind. And I'm telling you, every single time that I've mounted that there 42-inch television, the struggle has been real. Bear weighed 110 pounds. He was physically weak and had major negative health defects. I just can't believe that this individual could have transported a 53-inch television for any distance. By the way, I am aware that manufacturers do not make 53-inch televisions. It's just some articles said 50-inch and some said 55-inch, so I split the difference and rounded up. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. Now, since I think Diaz removing that television by his lonesome is an impossibility, I have to then believe that someone had to have had contact with him sometime after his mom left his house on August 29th. Online, people have discussed the potential that this person or people may have been party to Bear absconding, either driving him to a desolate area to end his life or aiding him to leave El Cajon to start a new one. These same people posit that Bear could have gifted the TV and cash to these unknown individuals as payment for the help in either scenario. Truthfully, I've always had thought that this could be possible, and myself, personally, I give more weight to the idea that these people were complicit in Bear's suicide than his renaissance. But for this scenario to be true, these people would have to be a special kind of psychopath. Even if this person wasn't particularly close to Diaz, I would still hope that they would have some misgivings in accepting payment for helping someone else end their life. If this individual was instead helping Bear to disappear, I think we would see evidence of this. We know that Diaz's text to his mom was his last sent message. We also know that police went over all of his phone records and there was no evidence of planning. So this commission would have to be orchestrated entirely in person or a spur-of-the-moment aspiration and fulfillment. And for me, I just really don't think this is possible. Also, I have already denounced the suggestion that Bear is somewhere out there in the world living amongst us. monstrously forsaking a family and community that misses him dearly. I don't think Diaz was this kind of person, so I'm ruling it out. Next, let's talk about the Skylar Peterson-Tosic connection. The similarities between Skylar and Bear are eerie, but again, like the willful accomplice theory, this consideration evaporates when you consider the dearth of a nexus between the two parties. Nothing in Diaz's cell phone records indicated that he was running away with Peterson-Tosic. Nothing demonstrates that he was meeting with anyone on the night that he went missing. There is no evidence whatsoever that Bear and Skylar had any interaction of any kind at any time. I know it's detective speak to say there is no such thing as a coincidence.
I said in the world, I come from, I don't believe in coincidences. I said, I've got to do something.
But as I've said in previous videos, the reality is, yes, there is such a thing as coincidence. More people live in California than in Canada. In 2015 alone, 40,823 people were reported missing in the state. So, with these numbers in mind, the perspective that Skylar and Bear both went missing in the same 24-hour time period, though through unrelated circumstances, sadly, is not that unheard of. I'm not going to rule it out entirely, but I am going to say that I don't personally think the two cases are related. Now, to answer the question that I outlined at the start of this segment, what do I think happened to Elijah Bear Diaz? Well, I think he was murdered. I loathe the term "no sign of a struggle." Well, I shouldn't say I loathe the term, I just hate the classification. Does it mean that if couches aren't flipped over and windows smashed, that there is no sign of a struggle? The act and intensity of a struggle can vary wildly. If I walk up to someone and punch them as hard as I can, knocking them out instantly, there's not going to be any sign of a struggle, but violence still definitely occurred. In Bear's case, the police said there was no sign of a struggle, but I think the evidence tells a different story. Diaz's comforter and pillows were cast aside. His bed sheets were missing. Bear's TV and cash were also gone. I think all of these examples can certainly point to a struggle occurring. Ergo, I believe that on the evening of August 29th, 2015, two of Bear's friends from the hookah lounge are cooking up more than tobacco. The men are discussing their new friend Diaz and his cachet of ready cash. Whilst deep in conversation, they notice one of Bear's roommates tending the bar. Diaz's other house guest sits on the opposite side of the room amongst a group of imbibers. The opportunity is now, and the two soon-to-be killers leave the lounge, destined for the stucco home at 716 Joey Avenue. On the premises, they announce themselves by knocking at the front door. Bear wheels himself to the entrance of the single-floor house. Graciously, Diaz welcomes the familiar visitors into his abode. Inside, they ask, "Where is everybody?" They already know, but just want to be certain. Bear says that he doesn't know, but asks them, "Want to hang out?" Now certain that Bear is alone in the property, the unscrupulous pair put their plan into action. They pounce on the frail Diaz, forcing him into his room. The villains instruct Bear to unlock the safe. With the vault now emptied of its contents, Diaz has outlived his necessity to the cowards. One of the intruders steps to an already prone Bear on the ground by the safe in his own bedroom, the very place where one should feel most safe. Elijah Bear Diaz is heinously choked to death. The killer hurls Bear's lifeless body onto his bed and wraps him into the sheets alongside the walking aids, erroneously believing that the backpack beside the bed may also contain cash, which it does not, only life-preserving insulin. The killer fastens the sack onto his back. One man hauls the morbid package out of the bedroom. The second follows behind, television in tow. Diaz is packaged into the trunk of the vehicle. The plan the two murderers had thought up earlier did not include a dumping ground as such. They aimlessly drift through the Golden State Expanse. They pass the Barona Casino before arriving at the rolling valleys of Santa Isabel. A steep, secluded stretch of terrain the pair determine will make for an inconspicuous final resting place. They remove Bear from the sheets, and just before leaving him to the abyss, one of the men catches sight of the cell phone in Diaz's pocket. He removes the device and powers it off. Bear is secreted away with his crutches and backpack. On the drive back to El Cajon, the two killers make just one more stop. Arriving at San Vicente Reservoir, Diaz's phone is sent into a watery sepulcher. On October 16th, 2015, a body is found on the shore of Lake Hodges. The location is 35 miles from El Cajon, where Bear Diaz was last seen, and just 7 miles from Escondido, where Skylar Peterson Tosick was last seen. Olivia Tosick and Leilani Thompson hold their collective breaths and await identification. However, the body is found to be that of a female. On December 11, 2015, the woman is identified as San Diego resident Marisol Lopez. Why and how she died remains a mystery, much like the whereabouts of Skylar and Bear. On May 31st, 2016, Diaz's biological father, Stephen, passed away from respiratory failure brought on by a heart attack. Bear's mother, Leilani, the woman who had already experienced such tremendous heartache, was dealt yet another crushing blow. However, buoyed on by the outstanding support of the Barona group of Capitan Grande Band of Mission Indians, Thompson continues her search. She maintains a website called bringbearhome.com. On the 5-year anniversary of his disappearance, Leilani posted a tribute to the address's homepage, which reads in part, "Bear was a young man with a very big heart." The tribute concludes with a testament to Thompson's dedication. "We will continue to search. We will not stop till he is found." A $50,000 reward is being offered in this case. Thank you so much for listening to the story of Elijah Bear Diaz. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Just before I go, I want to take a moment to tell each and every one of you just how valuable you truly are. If you are struggling right now for any reason, please know that you are not alone, and it does get better. Strength is not measured by an individual's ability to bear the weight of their issues alone. There is might in introspection. Power is recognizing that you are not okay. And you'll never know just how willing people are to be there for you until you ask them to be so. Trust me. Each and every one of us is going to have to ask for help in some manner at some point in our lives. So let's remove the stigma involved and make assistance more easily accessible to all. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'll see you next time.